Welcome back to my channel. This is my first time making a story-like video, so sorry if it sucks. I promise I'll try to be better. Anyways, I made this video because I really wanted to see an Omega or Bottom SakuAtsu video and I didn't see a lot, so I made one of my own. Anyways, I hope you enjoy. SakuAtsu checked his backpack, looking over to see if he had everything he needed. Checking off everything in his head, he zipped up the yellow book bag. Just as he was getting ready to leave, his phone rang, alerting him. Opening up his phone, he noticed the text was from Komori. Rolling his eyes, he opened up his text messages. Haikyuu, did you pack your pills? I did. I wouldn't forget something as important as that. I just wanted to make sure. I don't want you falling into heat at practice. You know I wouldn't be that irresponsible. Yeah. I just wanted to remind you. Whatever. SakuAtsu put his phone in his pocket and ascended the journey to school. SakuAtsu walked up to the gym, spraying hand sanitizer onto his hands. On his journey towards school, he was touched by some girl wanting his number. He could still feel her disgusting hands grabbing at his wrist. He grunted as he scrubbed his wrist harder to get rid of the touch that still wouldn't leave. Arriving at his destination, he looked around, noticing new faces. Walking towards his cousin, he cleared his throat before he began to speak. What is the Inarizaki team doing here? Don't tell me you forgot? We're having a practice game with them. SakuAtsu's mouth forms an O shape even though it couldn't be seen through his mask. He nodded absently as his eyes wandered around the gym. Brown eyes met his black coal-like ones. His face flushed red and he couldn't help but feel electricity pump through his veins. His hand reached towards the back of his neck to touch the burning bond mark. He was so lost in thought that the touch to his shoulder caused him to flinch. He looked over to see who dared touch him when he saw his cousin. Instantly he calmed down, but when he tried to catch his breath, he noticed how the brown eyes didn't leave him. When the whistle blew, he ran over towards the net. Finally calming down, he got ready for the match to start. It was halfway into the match when SakuAtsu felt heat overcome his body. He tried to ignore the overcoming desire to be close to the blonde. He panted as he started to sweat more than he was supposed to. All he could smell was honey. The fiery scent of honey filled his nostrils as he looked around frantically. He looked towards his cousin. Do you smell that? Komori looked at his cousin in confusion. Smell what? SakuAtsu looked exhausted. His hair was more wild than usual as the curls covered his eyes. He rubbed his bond mark in a rash manner, trying to stop the burning sensation that overwhelmed his body. All he could feel was those brown eyes burning daggers into his already weak form. Hey! Komori lifted his hand to contact the referee. Everybody stood there shocked. Everyone assumed that SakuAtsu was an alpha. They had no reason to doubt that. Well, that was until they saw the curly-headed boy on the floor as his heat began. Haikyuu. Komori rushed over towards his cousin. When he was about to touch the germaphobe, a loud growl stopped him. The smell of an angry protective alpha filled the gym. The blonde alpha rushed over towards his Omega. His fangs were bared as he growled at anyone who tried to get close to him or his newly found mate. His ears popped out as his tail flashed around aggressively. His team looked at him in shock, seeing how he never showed signs of being an alpha. Atsumu. Ignoring his twin brother and his teammates' concerns. Getting up, he picked up the male bridal style. SakuAtsu tightly grabbed onto Atsumu's uniform. With his eyes dazed, he looked over at his teammates. As his eyes closed, he laid his head on Atsumu's shoulder and fell into a deep slumber. SakuAtsu woke up in fright. With his eyes glancing in every direction, he noticed how he wasn't in his bedroom. The heat was still there, but it was tolerable. Just when he was about to get up, a sharp pain in his abdomen had him whining as he laid back. He panted rough, seeing the blonde male walking into the room. Noticing how SakuAtsu was now awake, he walked over. He helped SakuAtsu sit up as he handed him a glass of water along with his pills that he got from Komori. He watched as the germaphobe took the pills and drank almost all the water. Atsumu crawled into the bed and hugged SakuAtsu's waist from behind. Even though the need to mate was almost overbearing, he didn't want to do anything knowing SakuAtsu wasn't in the right headspace. Surprisingly enough, SakuAtsu allowed the blonde to hug him as he let out delighted purrs. Atsumu smiled as he held SakuAtsu tighter. I know we haven't introduced ourselves, but I'm Atsumu Miya. SakuAtsu stood quiet for a second before responded. I'm SakuAtsu Kiyumi. Atsumu gasped. That's such a cute name, Omi. SakuAtsu lifted an eyebrow and looked at Atsumu the best way he could without causing any pain. Omi? Yeah. I just came up with it. It's your nickname. SakuAtsu blushed bright red as he nodded his head. Then I'll call you Atsu. Atsumu beamed. I would like that a lot, Omi. With that, the newly found mates spent the rest of SakuAtsu's heat getting to know each other.